to the two sons. Which one's better? We know that the prophet said, the younger will serve the older. We know the word does not make a mistake, right? We know that the truth can never mess up, but it sure does not feel good when you're used in the bad way. And God is saying, I don't need you to be the villain. I don't need to have to correct you. I don't need to have to go back and wait another, how many years did he have to work for Rachel? 7 more years? 7 more years. 7 more years he had to toil in the field because he had not did what maybe God had already put in him. Don't take the bribe, Jacob. Don't take the bribe. Tell your mother, this is not the best thing, Mom. I'm not putting on the hair. I'm not going to my daddy and getting the blessings. Think about it. Just think about it. What if the child would have learned? What if the child would have had Rebecca, the grandmother, that said, listen, Jacob, there are going to be hard things that you're going to have to make decisions on. Your mother and father might make you, try to persuade you to do something evil, but in the eyes of God, don't do it. Don't do it. That's the kind of people that God is looking for now, is that don't do it to be men pleasers, but to be God pleasers. And now it is time for us to rise up and say, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. But if it is not right in the sight of the living God, I cannot do it. I will not do it. Help me, God, not to do it. I'm preaching to myself, too. We can be persuaded, especially in this day and hour that we live. We know all the right answers. I preach to you about the parents. Who cares that you've heard it, but you don't believe it? Who cares that you say it, but you don't know it? Who cares that you have a form of godliness, but deny the power thereof? And this is where the Lord took me again. He said, listen, we have the prayer cloths because whenever we take it as the example of the Word of God, you take the prayer cloths and we anoint it with oil, and we believe that with touching and agreeing that there is healing. But Jesus is the great healing. He is the great physician. He is the one that heals us, all of our infirmities, all of our bodies, everything. But we practice this to show as an evidence and the revelation and the truth that if God could do it in the Word, He can do it tangible here. He can do it here. That's why we pass these out. That's why we take the oil. That's why we anoint with oil. That's why we ask God to please let us not be just in the human nature, but let us be in the spiritual nature too. Our house is a spiritual house too. And so God is saying, I need my house to let my love and the purity of who I am come and fill your lives up a little more. Let me do a little bit more with you. Let me touch you a little bit deeper. Let me go with you a little bit further. And I'm coming. What time is it? Is it time for me to be done? What time is it? 12:20? I got to go. I got to leave this with you. This is my last one. This is my last one. It has not left me for several weeks, you guys. We've been preached to about the hem of the garment. And when I was walking back and forth across the floor, you know, it's the dust and the ditch and the dirt and the grime. But the woman that touched the hem of his garment was never the same. She was never the same once she got to his hem. And Jesus and all of the crowd and all of the mob turned around and said, who touched me? Because he knew that the vessel, the woman of God, had touched him. And God is saying, I want this church to be that church. I want this church